be in a relationship? And are you actively doing things? Like, are you actively on different platforms trying to get yourself out there, to get yourself out of, because the question that I have is, once you build such a community around the central issue being not being in a relationship, right? And you all sort of form this community where you get close, you're used to seeing each other's posts, and this, you kind of make it into the block where you don't want to go out and find a relationship anymore, because it would go against what the
bros before hoes, man.
What the community as a whole. So
yeah, it becomes self-fulfilling at that point, isn't it?
Yeah. So what are you doing about that?
Right. So, all right. First of all, what you need to understand, I suppose maybe you understand it already, is that most people on the forum are normal guys, in the sense that, for example, I work, I study, I have friends. You see me on the streets and you wouldn't say, oh, an incel goes there. It's just a normal guy. And at work, I don't talk about the black pill or incels. I talk about normal work stuff. So incels are nothing different than normal people. Now, when they go in the forum and they talk in a certain way and they read certain posts, that doesn't mean that they're going to feel defeated about life, or though certainly many do. But getting to your point exactly, is that a self-fulfilling prophecy? Well, I think that it's on the contrary. To fit the definition of incel, it means that, well, it's incel, right? Involuntarily celibate. I actually never said that. That's what the word means. In order for it to be involuntary, it means that you need to want to try to do it. And that's the definition, which is you have to try repeatedly over a long period of time. If you do not do that, then you are what we call incel, which is voluntarily celibate or just celibate. So the self-fulfilling prophecy, it can't be, because you only get to the point where you read those posts and get depressed after you have already tried. Now, do the posts, stop you from going out and trying more? Well, let me put it this way. Imagine that you go out and you let's say that you're ugly or not, just you go out and you want to have a girlfriend, or just get a girl to go to the cinema with, and you go on and just approach someone and she says no, right? You feel, well, that hurt, but whatever, let's go for the next one, because it's not the end of the world. So you go and you try again, and the next time you get rejected or right, you don't even get to talk. She says, not interested, or whatever, or I have a boyfriend, even though it's clear she doesn't matter. Well, that hurt as well. And, your confidence is starting to go down a little, because we are human and humans have emotions, right? So repeat this a number of times, and, your self-confidence starts going down, and you eventually feel like it's not really worth it.
Let me clarify what I meant by that. Not necessarily that the post would create a self-fulfilling prophecy, but that you yourself you identify under the moniker of an incel. Like, that is part now of an identity, correct? And if let's say you go out and you get lucky, and you're no longer involuntarily celibate, that instantly pulls you away from that community. You no longer can identify with that community on that base level, because you're achieving what the rest of the group is there to kind of be with, for each other for. So to me, it seems like it would create this sort of resistance to enter in those kind of relationships, because once you do, you're not an incel anymore. So how can you still be a part of that community, still be, talking about the same things, when you have achieved the thing that that community exists for?
Right. I'm sorry, I didn't understand you before. It's actually very funny. We are one of the few communities that actually no one wants to belong to. No one wants to be involuntarily celibate. That's why it's involuntary. So if you actually hypothetically go out and actually have a chance with a girl, that's great for you, and we are all happy. And of course, there will always be internet anonymous communities, people who are jealous and who get angry, but that's normally in all of them, right? Everyone has trolls and people who are bitter or whatever. But I personally always get happy. Now we have a rule against that actually aids the fact that people who get lucky can still belong to the forum, and that is the simple rule that we do not allow any kind of romantic or sexual talks of romantic or sexual experiences on the forum. In fact, an incel, because of the definition, means that you currently cannot find anyone, which means that perhaps 10 years ago you had boyfriends or girlfriend or whatever, and you had sex a lot, and then for whatever reason now you can't, and therefore you are incel and now you belong. But as long as you don't talk about that, because we don't want to hear your story about how you shagged some girl, right? That's not what the forum is for. So as long as you keep those things outside the forum, you can stay all right. One of our rules is that we do allow black pill people. That is someone who is not an incel, but who believes that overall girls go for the most attractive guys. And those people can stay all right, and in fact are indistinguishable from actual incels because they don't talk about their experiences. And that's fine with us, at least fine with me. Some incels don't like it, but it's my forum.
Sure.
So you could have a quarter or half of the people in the forum actually being in a relationship and just not talking about it and still being on the forum, and you wouldn't know.
Or if they become,
for all I know,
if they become sexually active, are they no longer members of the community?
No, he just said that.
No, he just said they could stay.
They could stay.
They can stay,
right.
But they're no longer incels.
I understand the confusion. We have three points in membership. One, females are not allowed. I already touched on that topic. The second is that incels are allowed. If you try to if you try to get into a relationship repeatedly and through a long period of time and you are unable to, then you can get in. And if you are black-pilled, you can get in as well. Now, what does that mean? That means that, one, you are not incel, because you are in another bullet point. Otherwise, you're incel. An incel can be black-pilled, but you're still in the incel part. So the black-pilled point is for people who are not incels, but who are not going to go against our beliefs and go, hey, why don't you go out and get girls? Just be confident, or who aren't going to throw platitudes away and when they get in the forum. That's why we need to specify that these people need to be black-pilled. Otherwise, the forum would be just Reddit, right? That's
sure. So, yeah. And Christy, I want to get your any type of points that you want to bring up to what the kind of chunk that we just went over, and then we're going to switch gears and let Sarge either ask you any questions if he's had any for feminists, like if he's wanted to know kind of anything that your movement, if he has any questions towards that way. So we're going to kind of let him ask you some questions after that, but I wanted to see if you had any comments based on the last little chunk of discussion we had just there.
Sure. Well, I think it would be remiss for me to not bring up, because I'm also wanted to take this opportunity as a social scientist to learn a bit, and I have some quibbles with the characterization that Sarge has put forward, but he's doing his spin. That's okay. I respect that. Tip my cap. I understand where you're coming from, but I think that one of the things that really troubles people, the things that most people associate with incel forums, is real hatred toward women, contempt toward women, and putting women in a double bind, which is if you don't sleep with, then you're a prude, or if you don't sleep with the guy, you're a bitch, and if you do have sex, then you're a slut. So women are always in a lose-lose position, and that seems to be running rampant in incel forums, and it seems pretty goal of having a relationship, because if you want a relationship with someone, that I think a healthy one implies mutual respect and a level of trust, and I don't see from the incel communities characterizations and bits that I've seen from it that the men are beginning those skills. And one of the things that I've learned in the course of my research was that if you look at let's take those odds and say that, a lot of guys are going to see their sexual activity pick up in their late 20s and into their 30s. And we look statistically, and the chances of somebody getting married over the course of their lifetime, by the time they're 75, is like 90-some%, 95-some%, right? So if you go into it saying it's a darn good chance that I am going to meet someone and have sex and get married, it seems to me that the incel forum, a much better, more productive thing to focus on would be, one, learning how to have a healthy relationship. And one thing, like I said, coming back to it, I know from studies and how people communicate, how men and women communicate, is that when you talk about friendships, of opening up to somebody and telling them your real thoughts and your feelings, we call it intimacy, friendship intimacy, that if you ask people to rate with men and women, the people with whom they have the most friendship intimacy, women will say, well, my most intimate friendships are with other women, and then men. And men, in the studies that I read, said, my most friendship intimate relationships are with women and then with men. And I think if you are going to be in a relationship, then having platonic friendships and getting to know women as people and just learning how to be a good friend and how to communicate with a lot of different women platonically is going to set men up much better for relationships just in general. And also, much better than like talking about how much you hate yourself. Get out the Kama Sutra and think about some skills and some tactics, because again, very likely it will happen in the course of your lifetime. So rather than moaning on about how horrible it is that you're not currently in a relationship, and there are things that it's not a platitude as well. These are sort of statistical inevitabilities. It's like wearing a seatbelt. Eventually, you're probably going to be in an accident on the road long enough so you put on a seatbelt. Same thing. Like, study on what to do, like what makes women happy. Learn the female anatomy. Do that kind of stuff. Get ready. So that, it's a great experience when it does happen. And look forward to it rather than bemoan it. That's at least my take. I think Incel's forum would be a much better place.
Well, and two, once I think you'll find that once you actually get to the relationship part, you'll miss the days where you had some peace and quiet on your own.
So basically, it's just a law of large numbers. If you hang out with enough women, you're bound to get laid or something. And by the way, I do agree with you on the fact that the more you know about a woman, the much better your chances. That's why smart guys do well. We study these things.
Right. So you touched on a lot of things. First of all, I would like to say that even though I am not like the ultimate authority on incels, I am basically the leader right now of, I suppose, the incel community, even though some people are going to disagree on that. So, I basically founded the forum. I've been involved in the forum daily for over a year. I was on the subreddit before it got banned. So I would like to say that the definitions that you have on incels and the definitions that I have on incel, you should probably listen to me because I am the one who, at the end of the day, has the most experience, right? I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm simply stating a fact. Second of all, I find it very ironic that you sometimes have the audacity of saying that not to generalize women when you are doing exactly that for incels. You're saying, incels hate people women, or incels know nothing about women. I've been to college. I talk to girls. I have female friends for years now. So actually, the fact that I can't have a romantic relationship is not necessarily correlated with the fact that I do not understand girls, because I would like to think that for the most part I do. I'm sorry, but I do not believe that I am sounding like a very uneducated person.
I did specify the forums and the content on the forums.
Right,
Nothing I said had your name in it. Just to clarify, it was not a personal attack. I was talking about the content on the forums.
No problem, but I am sure that you meant it as a generalization. In any community, and I mean in any, you will find many ignorant people, many people that are angry, that are bitter, that are I don't know, whatever negative adjective you want to use. So, of course, in our community, we also have people who are angry, bitter, and sometimes angry at women. That doesn't mean that it's intrinsic to the community, that it's saying that if you're incel, you hate women or you do not understand them. Appearance manifests itself very early, just after puberty, which means that most of our members, I imagine, are very young, which means that they haven't had as much time to mature emotionally, which means that therefore they are going through the stages of of acceptance, grief, depression, anger, bargain. They're going through anger right now, which is anger to women, towards women, because they feel that perhaps they are the ones who are flawed in not accepting guys for who they are in terms of personality, rather than just going by looks. And again, I am not generalizing that all girls are like this. Just